We all need to be flexible in life, and if you opt for the same device all the time, life can become boring, and it's why it's good to change it up. So let's discover more about the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 and compare it with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. Throughout the years of doing YouTube, I've switched devices so many times, and it has been amazing to see so many devices. But with this device, it will make me switch to Android, and I want to explain why. The Z Fold 5 and the Z Fold 4 together look stunning, and it turns people's heads when using out and about because it is different from the normal iPhones and standard one screen devices that we see. But folding devices are becoming more and more popular and more people are buying them. When unfolded, people are like, wow, what is that? That is awesome. And they ask what device it is. So between these two devices, actually when unfolded, there is a very minimal change in dimensions apart from the 0.2 millimeters of thickness. When folded, there is a bit more of a change, but it's still minimal in the dimensions apart from the thickness, when the Z Fold 5 has a thickness of 13.4 millimeters compared to 15.8 millimeters on the Z Fold 4. But it just fits in your pocket and it sits there a lot more comfortable. It's easier to just go and grab. It doesn't feel so bulky, which is really important. And we're on the 5th generation now of folding devices from Samsung, so we're expecting to see these changes. And they may only still be minimal changes at the moment because they've put so much into the first 3 generations. So we're seeing it being refined and we're seeing it being made a lot more impressive with the way it folds and it coming together and actually narrowing that small gap there where the hinge was. So a new hinge design that folds and fits better in your hand. And this is due to the Z Fold 5 having a new flex hinge. So it's a new dual rail hinge. It's stronger, it's more durable, and it looks amazing with innovation of technology hidden so elegantly. And you really have to see it to believe it. And it's really impressive that Samsung is actually hidden something away that they've most probably worked on so much, but it means that it fits perfectly and closes so neatly together. So the Z Fold 5 weighs 253 grams and the Z Fold 4 weighs 263 grams. So a reduction of 10 grams, which you can notice when holding in your hand, and as I mentioned, when placed into a pocket, it is really noticeable. It can fit in your pockets quite easily. Just be careful with those skinny jeans or tight jeans, or maybe I just need to lose some weight, but it does fit in your pocket and it makes it a lot easier to hold. And you are holding a premium device. It feels amazing in your hands, and that's thanks to the materials used. So Samsung used an armor aluminium frame with a tougher drop and scratch resistance, with both devices offering multiple different colors to choose from. So my Z Fold 5 is in a cream color and my Z Fold 4 is a grey green option that they had. There are options available online that are online exclusives, and I will leave a link in the video description. And also go and make sure to check out Vodafone, who supplied these two devices. Their link to all of their packages will be in the video description too. We've talked about the frames of our devices and the materials used, but now let's talk about the protection when it comes to our displays. So the Z Fold 5's front glass is a Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and that's compared to a Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the Fold 4. Obviously, you have your plastic display on the front of your device when unfolded, but then also you have Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back of your device compared to Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus also on the Z Fold 4. So there's been a massive improvement here to make sure it's more tough and resistant to drops, scratches and other interactions with your display. I would always say please be careful, please read the cleaning instructions that Samsung show when going through the setup process, as it will make sure you look after your device and maintain your device as much as possible, because with a folding device we do have to be careful. It's a new innovation, a new different display that we're not so used to, and we need to make sure that it looks its best as long as possible. One of the things that I'm really impressed with is when it comes to rain and water. We have to be so careful with our devices here in the UK because we receive so much rain and don't really have a summer. So both these devices offer an IPX8 water resistant up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. Yes, I'm not going to overly test that, but when I've been out and about, unfortunately it has been raining and it's been okay. I've just wiped it off and no issues. But to know that I could go for a swim up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, it's great. I'm still not going to do it, but it's nice to have. So moving around our devices, let's just talk about what you're going to get. So when folded, I'm going to sort of talk about the right side and the left side. So down the right hand side, you've got your volume controls, which are the same color and they're slightly raised. Coming down from that is your ingress, so slightly concaved power button. And within that, you've got your fingerprint sensor where you're able to use Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and able to unlock your device and then even register for apps as well. So to lock certain applications. There's a slight difference via tactile touch, but no real color differences though, so please just get used to that. But you'll know your volume buttons are bulky and they push out, whereas your power button is slightly ingressed into your device frame. And then down the left hand side is your SIM tray. So it's a nano SIM card that's used in this device, or you can use an eSIM, you can use a dual SIM, which is 2 nano SIMs, or an eSIM, or dual standby side option. There's not too much else to really mention here apart from your antenna bars. You've got some speakers, you've got microphones dotted around your device. At the bottom, you've got your USB-C connection for charging and moving data, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So let's talk about what you're going to be looking at all the time, and that is either your cover display or your main display. Starting with your cover display. So when your device is folded up and you're looking at the front screen, both devices have a 6.2-inch HD Plus Dynamic AMOLED 2X display with a resolution of 2316 by 904, and they both have a 48 to 120 Hz adaptive technology built in. So again, this will lower the refresh rate or higher it, just depending what you want to do or what you are doing, or if you've got a standby mode option or just a background that's light, it won't be too much compared to a heavy app. Fast games, fast moving, you can enjoy really quick response. And also when scrolling through say X or other text heavy websites, it will fly through at an ease. The Fold 5 has 1750 nits of brightness, and the Fold 4 has 1500 nits of brightness. So when unfolding your device, and you will just continue doing this, it is just the experience of going from a small screen, or not really a small screen, 6.2 inches is still quite large, but then when unfolded to a whopping 7.6 inch display, which is a QXGA Plus Dynamic AMOLED 2X display again, with a resolution of 2176 by 1812, you are pulled in to whatever you're viewing or doing. I've just been sort of like, wow, that is amazing. And I think for myself, being visually impaired, and I talk about this a little bit later, and I think this is why, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that this could be the device to pull me over to Android and that I could use daily. So every single time I review a device, I always have my iPhone, I always have an Android device, and it's time to switch up and maybe move to Samsung to enjoy the Fold and have that options of this larger display, because that will be so much easier on me with my visual impairments. Both devices have 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate as well built in when unfolded, which is amazing, and the brightness gets even more. So you've got 1750 nits of brightness with the Fold 5, which was the same as the cover display, and then you've got 1300 nits with the Fold 4, so slightly a little bit less than the cover display on the Fold 4 there. One of the biggest features that I've enjoyed and used multiple times is the multi-window option, and you can just view so much here, and it makes you ultra productive, or it just means you can have multiple streams of social media apps open. For me, I've watched a YouTube video while searching for a new product or starting to research a product I may be getting. I could be looking at the Amazon listing or going to buy something from Amazon while keeping an eye on all of my social media feeds. And if you are new here, make sure to follow me on all of my social channels, which will be linked in the video description. And all of this is enhanced with the Samsung Galaxy S Pen, which is sold separately, and I will leave a link for that in the video description. I've used the S Pen in the past and I like it. I'd just rather use my fingers and navigate round and then clean the screen where possible. As you're showing off with this device, you want to show off its cameras, because the camera from Samsung is impressive as always, but both devices have the following rear camera lenses. A 50 megapixel f1.8 23mm wide lens that has dual pixel phase detection autofocus and OIS, so optical image stabilization. It then also has a 10 megapixel f2.4 66mm telephoto lens with phase detection autofocus, OIS, and 3x optical zoom. And then finally, you have a 12 megapixel f2.2 12mm with a field of view of 123 degrees ultra wide lens. When it comes to video recording, we're talking about 8K now at 30 frames per second, which is really impressive. And the only difference here is that the Fold 4 was able to do 8K at 24 frames per second. Then we come onto our selfie cameras, and you've got two here. One of them is actually hidden under your display. You have to get the right angle to see this, or especially as myself, I do, because I don't see it at all. It's actually hidden under your display, and they use technology to cover it over and actually show your content where the camera lens is. So both of these devices offer a 4 megapixel f1.8 26mm wide under the display camera. It's good for selfies. It could be better. This is where Samsung will improve next generation, and they'll make these slight tweaks. However, on the cover display, so your front of your device, both devices offer a 10 megapixel f2.2 24mm wide lens. Both devices offer HDR, and this would be the lens you would use to take a selfie, I would say, not the one that's under the display. It may be good for a quick capture and away you go, but I would use this one. Both devices offer a recording the same at 4K at 30 or 60 frames per second, 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second, and both of them have gyro EIS, and again, that is for your cover camera lens. A great feature I just want to mention here, because there's so much to talk about, but this one I really did like, is a dual preview. So it puts your subject in control. So when taking a photo of someone, they can actually see themselves on the cover display. So they can tell you, yes, I like that one, no, or I just need to move slightly here. So it's great for influencers. It's great when you're out and about with a group of friends and you want to take a photo of someone. They may say, no, I don't want it like that, but I want it like this. So that's a good option, and I recommend having a play around with that. Talking about keeping updated, this device runs Samsung's One UI 5.1.1, which is based off Android 13. I'm guaranteed there will be a push to Android 14 as soon as it's available, and I'm sure that Android 15 will be here as well. Can you remember Ice Cream Sandwich or Jelly Bean? I can't believe that we don't have names like that anymore. What would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. What would you choose again for a great dessert to say this is the new Android 15? One thing I did mention when talking about where you add your SIM card is that there's no SD card storage on your device, which I think is a shame. That would be a plus point. However, both devices have 3 available options. So you have 256 gigabytes of storage, 512 gigabytes of storage, or 1 terabyte worth of storage. Yes, you are able to use cloud storage. However, make sure you pick the right storage for you, and all of those run 12 gigabytes of RAM. However, when it comes to storage management and the speed it uses, the Fold 5 has UFS 4.0 compared to UFS 3.1 on the Fold 4, which means it's going to be a little bit quicker at getting your data. It's going to be a little bit snappier when moving data, so that's a good point here. Most of it has been the same though throughout. Coming onto the chipset, so the Fold 5 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 4mm, and that's compared to the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 4mm on the Fold 4. So both of them are octa-core processors with variant speeds, and the only other difference here is the GPU, so Adreno 740 on the Fold 5 compared to Adreno 730, and with that you've seen an increase of 32% of power, so that's really good. So battery, both devices have an impressive 4,400 mAh battery. The Fold 5 offers 73 hours of music listening and the ability to watch videos up to 21 hours. So if you're going to Australia from the UK, you just need 3 extra hours to maybe have a sleep. That's about it, which is so impressive and unbelievable. Both devices offer a 25 watt wired charging, so 50% in 30 minutes when testing with the plug and with the charger provided. Yes, agree, I got that speed there. 15 watts wireless charging, so that's really good to see, a little bit faster than what we've seen previously on other devices. And then also Samsung offer a 4.5 watt reverse wireless charging, so able to charge accessories and other devices such as your iPhone maybe when it's drained, or for me I could put on a Fold 4 on top of the Fold 5 and it's going to take a long old time to reverse wirelessly charge that device, but I could do if I wanted to. Both devices have a USB-C 3.2 and the ability to use Samsung DeX. Both devices offer Wi-Fi 8.2.11 and that's 6E. You've got your tri-band Wi-Fi Direct, and then when it comes to Bluetooth, your Fold 5 has Bluetooth 5.3 compared to Bluetooth 5.2 on the Fold 4, so not much of a difference there. Both devices offer stereo speakers, 32-bit, and it's audio tuned by AKG. Fold 5 features a wider variant of recycled materials, improved previous generations include a pre-consumer recycled glass and aluminium, post-consumer recycled plastics, sourced from discarded fishing nets, water barrels and PET bottles. So it's really important to focus on our environment, and it's nice that Samsung has made a nod to improve recycled materials where possible. So as some of you may know, I'm registered blind, which means that I'm able to see a bit, but I'm classified as blind because my eyesight is that poor. But to have a device where I can use two different screen options in one, for me, is actually the way forward of actually switching to Android and using a device that is easier for me and makes my life easier. With one of the largest amounts of accessibility settings available across any Android devices, you should find the setting or option that you need to change for your disability or ability in life to make this easier for you to use this device. For myself, having a visual impairment, there's the option to change the display size, change the display color, the contrast. You can even change the keyboard. There's even options to use talkback or select to speak, where it will narrate everything back to you on your device. And all of this can be found in the accessibility settings. If you have a hearing impairment, there are options to use hearing aids, as well as your device being able to listen out for such sounds as a baby crying or a doorbell. So there's so many different options, and I do ask you to go and have a look and delve into what's available for you. You also have options for interaction, dexterity, and further options, and there's so much more. And I do encourage you, if you do have an ability in life that may be affected in the way that you use a device, just go and have a little look for yourself, and there are so many settings and options in there. I said at the beginning of this video, this could be potentially the Android device to make me switch away from my daily iPhone or even an Android device that I use regularly, and that is because of what I've explained here today. There is just so much that could help me due to my eyesight. I've talked about the accessibility settings, and just having that large 7.6-inch display that could be folded up so neatly and placed in your pocket, but still remain to have another display that's 6.2 inches that I could still use to get all of my latest information, just really means a lot to me and is easy to use. Both of these options are great. I would say if you want to go for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, go for it, because one, it's going to be cheaper. Two, there's not really too much of a difference there. It's only because of power. You've got a slight thinness as well because it folds up a lot more closer together. However, the final choice is yours, but just letting you know about the price. So a massive thank you to Vodafone who sent out these devices. They do have a range of different plans available, and I will leave a link in the video description. But to buy the device outright here in the UK, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 starts at £1,749. And the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 starts at £1,649. So yes, only a saving of £100. However, if you look around and shop around on third-party websites like Amazon or use hot UK deals, say here in the UK, you'll actually find a saving a lot more than what Samsung are offering, and even Vodafone will have plans available as well. So make sure to go and check that link in the video description. So when I was growing up, we didn't have devices like this. My first device was a Nokia 3310. You just wouldn't believe that you would have a device that has two displays, and one of them being a 7.6-inch display that folded up and fitted so neatly in your pocket. When growing up, you just didn't expect that, and I'm so excited for the future, and I can't wait to see what new devices become available, and I look forward to reviewing more foldable devices on the channel and ask, what device would you choose and why? So it has to be a folding device, but what device would you choose and why? I look forward to reading your comments, and make sure to leave a comment if you have a question, and I'll be there to answer it as soon as possible. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell to be informed when I publish new videos. From me, Ricky, it's time to fold this up, and I will see you in my next video.